Okay, let's start our presentation. Uh, I have here my PDF file, and I'm going to discuss about community interpreting human rights and social assistance. Um, well, uh, the first topic is about human rights. According to any legislation, and of course in Brazil, it's mandatory to offer asylum to refugees. It's not only a good practice, but it's mandatory. So, for example, when refugees look for asylum in Brazil, the government should provide everything they need in order to have a good life here in Brazil. Because we know, as the second point shows, life as an immigrant is not easy at all. So when they come to a country, they think they have the same rights. They should have the same rights as any citizen there should have. So these people need social assistance of all kinds. So it also helps for the person's dignity in any area, for example, educational, medical, legal areas for any person that is an immigrant or a refugee. Unfortunately, as we see every day, Brazil is not ready to receive refugees. Actually, Brazil is not ready to treat the Brazilian people. So, what can we say about those people who come to live in Brazil? So, it's even harder to live as an immigrant here. So, how community interpreting is related to this area? Well, according to Hale, community interpreting is interpretation plus social service as it involves social service. So, a good idea is to use a team of interpreters to work where necessary. For example, hospitals, schools, courts, or other public institutions for refugees to communicate to each other and get the help they need in order to reach their needs. Unfortunately, there is too much bureaucracy and it's too difficult to implement those ideas, even though they are really good ideas in practice. But we know how hard it is to make it work in our country. So there is so much to be done. For example, we could see that universities should provide something. For example, they should provide abilities to their students to work as volunteer or as interns in any kind of place that community interpreting is necessary. So it one thing that could be done also, a legal community could also help since it also involves some kind of legal practice in this area. Why this happened? Because it's really expensive to pay an interpreter to perform his task. Nowadays, for example, who would pay 300 reais for 1 hour for an interpreter to be with you at a doctor's consultory? It's going to be really hard. So we see a very demanding area which is not satisfied because of many reasons. So it could help in both directions if these issues were implemented. For example, it would help the refugee to reach their rights and have a better medical care, and it would also help the people who work with interpretation, or also the students who work with interpretation, since they would be more qualified to work in this position. Uh, Therefore, government and society need to work together to reach these goals. So we need some more projects to help development. And talking a little bit more about medical care, we see the necessity of professionals in these areas. In Brazil, it's not even recognized a regular profession. Interpreters are not recognized. So what do we see? That usually to perform this practice, they usually choose family members who really are not prepared for this. Moreover, a lot of emotional is involved, so it really affects the way an interpretation is performed. So it's really bad. So what they say, oh, they're gonna look for someone at the hospital who can speak both languages, and this person can help them out. So, but it's not like this. It's not only to know two languages. There is a lot involved in interpretation. So the person who is going to be there is not a person who knows, I've always seen this in my life, or I know how it works. It's not like this. An interpreter has much to do and much is involved, but people are not concerned about all the risks involved in bad interpretations. And also, as you can see, universities are not prepared to offer these specific courses also. Unfortunately, in Brazil nowadays, we see only a few universities who can offer translation or interpretation courses. There are usually small courses, for example, in these colleges. So if you go there, you choose a subject, and then in that subject, you can have an interpretation or translation course um, added, but not as the main subject of the college. Our conclusion after all of this is that we need too much attention in this area of interpreting. Why? Because, okay, it doesn't involve a legal court, a crime that is really important. It also doesn't involve so much money as an interpreter working between two companies. So that may be the reason why we people in general don't pay much attention to this kind of interpreting. So we see many barriers have to be torn down in order to have a better community interpretation. Government and other departments need to work together in order to achieve better conditions in this area. And also, interpretation should be better qualified in Brazil with more evaluations and certifications. Regarding this point, if you compare interpretation in Brazil and in other countries, more developed countries, we see there they have courses and evaluations and much thing to be done in this case. Unfortunately, we don't have this in Brazil, so there is so much to improve in this area. And here in our last slide, we have the references I chose for this um, video audio, this little class, if you want to refer to them to have more information. So here it is. Healthcare Interpreting in Brazil, an overview by Melanie Queiroz, and Community Interpreting, Human Rights and Social Assistance, Public Policy Proposal in the Brazilian Context by Daniela Origella. So thank you very much.